Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hype, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3, and hopefully you like this video, and hit that subscribe button. Now, one of the things I talked a lot about here, and over the years on the other channels, is how the media is not the friend of the fans, and they're not really the friendliest type when it comes to teams. They love the players because they don't want to get the players as much money. They're like the unofficial press secretary of the players. It goes for all sports. But very rarely do teams and representatives of the teams call out columnists or writers during these press conferences. But this happened in the NFL from Sean Payton, the head coach of the Broncos, which I thought was an interesting story, interesting to talk about. Like I said, the media, they get away with murder, specifically in the sports side, because they make all kinds of crazy comments and they don't get called out too much. They kind of get away with a lot of stuff because they're not looked upon as serious as the so-called mainstream media, was just as big of a joke. But let me read from Awful Announcing, which is a left-leaning website. Sean Payton calls out columnists in post-game press conference. You never make eye contact. Quote, but you have a lot to write, which means he has a lot to say. You know, I would mention, if he's not looking at you, he's probably trying to write down what you're writing, what you're saying. Sean Payton didn't wait long to settle a score Sunday. Fresh off a 19-3 win over the Chargers that clinched the AFC's #1 seed. The Broncos head coach used his post-game press conference in which he was asked whether a win like Sunday's made it easier to look past Denver's ongoing red zone issues. Call out longtime Denver Gazette columnist Mark Kizawa. Okay? Now, there are columnists all over the country that just complain and complain and complain. And they complain about every little thing. Very rarely do they say anything positive. And they are very disruptive. The media can be columnists especially, can be very disruptive to teams. Absolutely, Payton said. Look, am I ever happy? No. But we shouldn't be as coaches. From somewhere in the media room, Kisla muttered what sounded like truer words have never been spoken. So he mouthed off back at him. Payton heard it, or at least heard something close to it, and decided this was the moment to address the columnists who spent the season questioning whether this Broncos team is actually good enough to win anything meaningful. Oh boy. So he's a punk. He's a punk, and he said something snippy, got snippy during the press conference. That's not how you act. We've seen this with the media once in a while. They'll get a little snippy in these press conferences. This is unusual in today's day and age to get like this. Quote, speak up because you're always here, but you never make eye contact. Never ask many questions, but you have a lot to write, Payton said. Quote, truer words have never been spoken. Kisla clarified. He just repeated himself. Quote, thank you, you're exactly right, Payton replied. Interesting. Days before Sunday's game, Kisla published a column titled, you read this, titled Frauds, That's the Word F. That's the wrong F word. Let me read this again. I'm all right. Frauds, that's the wrong F word. Where he wrote that the Broncos aren't good enough to win the Super Bowl, despite their 13-3 record. Then in his post-game column on Sunday, he doubled down with the line that Denver has rope-a-doped its way to 14-3 and that only a fool believes they can win the Super Bowl this way. In the regular season finale, Denver didn't score an offensive touchdown against a Chargers team resting Derwin James, Khalil Mack, and Tuli Tuipulotu. The Broncos went 0 for 2 in the red zone despite entering the game ranked second in the NFL at 61.1% efficiency. The only touchdown came on a 45-yard interception return by Jaquan McMillan in the first quarter. Now, a couple of things. I do follow the NFL to a degree. The Kansas City Chiefs are not in the playoffs this year. Okay, Patrick Mahomes got hurt. Travis Kelce's probably going to retire. They did not have a winning record, they didn't make postseason. The Baltimore Ravens, another Super Bowl team, did not make the postseason. They lost to the Steelers this past Sunday. And John Harbaugh got fired on Tuesday, by the Ravens. So you have two teams that have been there a lot. So they have a chance. The Broncos have a lane to get in. They have a shot. I mean, they have a shot. This guy's a dope. For a team that just clinched home field advantage throughout the playoffs, it wasn't exactly an awe-inspiring performance. Which brings us back to Kisler's argument, and it also brings us to his disdain for the Denver Broncos head coach, which he flatly laid out on social media. Nah, Payton whined at me like a hurt little boy. What an asshole. Again, he wrote, I've only had sports figures get mad at me for 50 years. No big deal. It's part of the job. At least Mike Shanahan and John Elway had the guts to get up in my face and go back and forth. The passive-aggressive shtick of Payton is hilarious to me. Well, I should have made fun of him. You know, that's how you deal with the media. Again, then he doubled down it. Payton can't stand that I don't put up with his nonsense, and it kills him. Wow, this guy's a punk. All right, let's recap. After the Broncos win 14th game of the season, earn number 1 seed, instead of talking about the great achievement, Sean Payton walks into his post-game presser looking to air a grievance with me about the fact that I ignore him. I live rent-free. Hey, you mumbled something to yourself in the back of the room. And he called you out on it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, the media are here to just cause trouble. This guy's just causing trouble. In his post-game column, Kisler doubled down on his bigger point. What the Broncos have put on tape the past 6 weeks won't win them the Super Bowl, he wrote. While acknowledging that winning the division for the first time in a decade is a meaningful achievement for a franchise that's mostly been treading water since Peyton Manning retired. The Broncos have 2 weeks to prepare for their divisional playoff opponent. Teams will either prove Kisler right or give Peyton the last word. Based on Sunday's exchange and Monday's social media posts, neither one seems particularly interested in finding middle ground. They're more like giving each other middle fingers. Yeah, let's be honest. They're giving each other middle finger. But again, the Broncos don't have the sort of gauntlet that's been through the playoffs the past few years. I mean, the Ravens aren't in it. The Chiefs aren't in it. Although, we know that the Steelers are going to be in it with Aaron Rodgers. But they were a team that squeaked in because the kicker for the Ravens messed up the kick and got the Steelers into the playoffs. But, if the media is mouthing off in a press conference, go right after them, okay? Because if you're a fan of this team, a guy like this being a jerk, you go after him and say, look, you're wasting everybody's time. The fans want to talk about the team. We don't need your antics here. And you mouthing off, just dopey comments, your dopey sort of back and forth. Really, he's just as passive aggressive. Remember something about the media. If you go after the media, they don't like it. Okay? So you put them on the defensive, they get all twisted, and also this takes a lot of pressure off your team. Okay? This takes a lot of pressure off your team, to be honest with you. I mean, you can do this. Now, the one thing about taking on the media, sports media, is sometimes these teams, most of the teams don't know how to handle it. But, we have an example in this country. You just go right at them, and you rip into them. And you rip into them hard, really hard, to where they can't, deal with it. You put them on the defensive, they will not know what to do. And they will melt down very quickly. Well, anyway, you let me know what you think about this. I didn't think it's funny. You said, you never make basically making fun of him. Basically never, puts his head up to listen. He's just writing whatever. Never ask questions. But you have a lot to write. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 3. Channel's doing great. And I'll see you later.